Past 8. And now Drama on 3 presents Alfred Lord Tennyson's epic poem, The Idylls of the King.
Leodogran, the king of Camelot, had one fair daughter and none other child, and she was the fairest of all flesh on earth, Guinevere, and in her his one delight. For many a petty king, ere Arthur came, ruled in this isle, and ever waging war, each upon other, wasted all the land, and still from time to time the heathen host swarmed over seas and harried what was left. And so there grew great tracts of wilderness, wherein the beast was ever more and more, but man was less and less, till Arthur came. For first Aurelius lived and fought and died, and after him King Uther fought and died, but either failed to make the kingdom one. And after these King Arthur, for a space, and through the puissance of his table round, drew all the petty princedoms under him, their king and head, and made a realm, and reigned. And thus the land of Camelot was waste, thick with wet woods and many a beast therein, and none or few to scare or chase the beast, so that wild dog and wolf and boar and bear came night and day and rooted in the fields and wallowed in the gardens of the king. And King Leodogran groaned for the Roman legions here again, and Caesar's eagle. Then his brother king, Urian, assailed him. Last, a heathen horde, reddening the sun with smoke and earth with blood, and on the spike that split the mother's heart, spitting the child, brake on him, till, amazed, he knew not whither he should turn for aid. But, for he heard of Arthur, newly crowned, the king sent to him, saying,
Arise, and help us thou, for here between the man and beast we die.
And Arthur yet had done no deed of arms, but heard the call and came, and Guinevere stood by the castle walls to watch him pass. But since he neither wore on helm or shield the golden symbol of his kinglihood, but rode a simple knight among his knights, and many of these in richer arms than he, she saw him not, or marked not if she saw, one among many, though his face was bare. But Arthur, looking downward as he passed, felt the light of her eyes into his life smite on the sudden, yet rode on and pitched his tents beside the forest. Then he drave the heathen, after slew the beast, and felled the forest, letting in the sun, and made broad pathways for the hunter and the knight, and so returned. For while he lingered there, a doubt that ever smouldered in the hearts of those great lords and barons of his realm flashed forth and into war. For most of these, colleaguing with a score of petty kings, made head against him, crying,
Who is he that he should rule us?
Who hath proven him King Uther's son?
For lo, we look at him and find nor face, nor bearing, limbs, nor voice are like to those of Uther whom we knew.
This is the son of Gorlois, not the king.
This is the son of Anton, not the king.
And Arthur, passing thence to battle, felt travail and throes and agonies of the life, desiring to be joined with Guinevere, and thinking as he rode.
Her father said that there between the man and beast they die. Shall I not lift her from this land of beasts up to my throne, and side by side with me? What happiness to reign a lonely king, vexed, O ye stars that shudder over me, O earth that soundest hollow under me, vexed with waste dreams. For saving I be joined to her that is the fairest under heaven, I seem as nothing in the mighty world, and cannot will my will nor work my work wholly, nor make myself in mine own realm victor and lord. But were I joined with her, then might we live together as one life, and reigning with one will in everything, have power on this dark land to lighten it, and power on this dead world to make it live.
Thereafter, as he speaks who tells the tale, when Arthur reached a field of battle, bright with pitched pavilions of his foe, the world was all so clear about him that he saw the smallest rock far on the faintest hill, and even in high day the morning star. So when the king had set his banner broad, at once from either side, with trumpet blast and shouts and clarions shrilling into blood, the long-lanced battle let their horses run. And now the barons and the kings prevailed, and now the king, as here and there that war went swaying. But the powers who walk the world made lightnings and great thunders over him, and dazed all eyes, till Arthur by main might, and mightier of his hands with every blow, and leading all his knighthood, through the kings, Carados, Urien, Cradlemont of Wales, Claudius, and Clariance of Northumberland, the king Brandagarus of Latangor, with Anguisant of Erin, Morganor, and Lot of Orkney. Then, before a voice as dreadful as the shout of one who sees to one who sins and deems himself alone and all the world asleep, they swerved and brake, flying. And Arthur called to stay the brands that hacked among the flyers.
Oh! They yield!
So, like a painted battle, the war stood silenced, the living quiet as the dead, and in the heart of Arthur joy was lord. He laughed upon his warrior whom he loved and honoured most.
Thou dost not doubt me, king. So well thine arm hath wrought for me today.
Sir and my liege, I say the fire of God descends upon thee in the battlefield. I know thee for my king.
Whereat the two, Lancelot and Arthur, for each had warded either in the fight, swear on the field of death a deathless love.
Man's word is God in man. Let chance what will, I trust thee to the death.
Then quickly from the foughten field he sent Ulfius and Brastius and Bedivere, his new-made knights, to King Leodogran, saying,
If he in aught hath served thee well, give him thy daughter Guinevere to wife.
Whom when he heard, Leodogran in heart, debating,
How should I that am a king, however much he holp me at my need, give my one daughter saving to a king and a king's son? Knowest thou aught of Arthur's birth? Tell me, ye yourselves, hold ye this Arthur for King Uther's son?
Then Bedivere, the first of all his knights, knighted by Arthur at his crowning, spake. For bold in heart and act and word was he, whenever slander breathed against the king.
Sir, there be many rumours on this head. For ye know that in King Uther's time, the prince and warrior Gorlois, he that held Tintagel Castle by the Cornish sea, was wedded with a winsome wife, Ygerne. And Uther cast upon her eyes of love, but she, a stainless wife to Gorlois, so loathed the bright dishonour of his love, that Gorlois and King Uther went to war. And overthrown was Gorlois, and slain, so, compassed by the power of the king, enforced she was to wed him in her tears, and with a shameful swiftness. Afterward, not many moons, King Uther died himself, and that same night, the night of the new year, by reason of the bitterness and grief that vexed his mother, all before his time was Arthur born, and all as soon as born, delivered at a secret postern gate to Merlin, to be holden far apart until his hour should come. And ever since, the lords have foughten like wild beasts among themselves, so that the realm has gone to wrack. But now, this year, when Merlin, for his hour had come, brought Arthur forth, and set him in the hall, proclaiming, "Here is Uther's heir, your king."
Then, while the king debated with himself if Arthur were the child of shamefulness, or born the son of Gorlois after death, or Uther's son and born before his time, or whether there were truth in anything, there came Lot's wife, the queen of Orkney, saying,
I was near him when the savage yells of Uther's peerage died, and Arthur sat crowned on the dais, and his warriors cried, "Be thou the king, and we will work thy will, who love thee." And there I saw Mage Merlin, whose vast wit and 100 winters are but as the hands of loyal vassals toiling for their liege. And near him stood the Lady of the Lake, who knows a subtler magic than his own, clothed in white samite, mystic, wonderful. She gave the king his huge cross-hilted sword whereby to drive the heathen out. There likewise I beheld Excalibur before him at his crowning born, the sword that rose from out the bosom of the lake. And Arthur rode across and took it, rich with jewels, elfin Urim, on the hilt bewildering heart and eye. The blade so bright that men are blinded by it. On one side, graven in the olden tongue of all this world, "Take me. But turn the blade, and ye shall see, and written in the speech ye speak yourself, cast me away." And sad was Arthur's face taking it, but old Merlin counselled him, "Take thou and strike. The time to cast away is yet far off." So this great brand the king took, and by this will beat his foemen down.
She spake, and King Leodogran rejoiced, and sent Ulfius and Brastius and Bedivere back to the court of Arthur, answering, "Yea." Then Arthur charged his warrior, whom he loved and honoured most, Sir Launcelot, to ride forth and bring the queen, and watched him from the gates. And Launcelot passed away among the flowers, for then was latter April, and returned among the flowers in May with Guinevere. To whom arrived by Dubric, the high saint, chief of the church in Britain, and before the stateliest of her altar shrines, the king that morn was married, while in stainless white the fair beginners of a nobler time, and glorying in their vows and him, his knights stood around him, and rejoicing in his joy. Far shone the fields of May through open door. The sacred altar blossomed white with May. The sun of May descended on their king. They gazed on all earth's beauty in their queen. Rolled incense, and there passed along the hymns of voice as of the waters, while the two swear at the shrine of Christ a deathless love.
Behold, thy doom is mine. Let chance what will, I love thee to the death.
King and my lord, I love thee to the death.
And Leodogran spread his hands and spake.
Reign ye, and live, and love, and make the world other, and may thy queen be one with thee. And all this order of thy table round fulfill the boundless purpose of their king.
So the man said. But when they left the shrine, great lords from Rome before the portal stood, in scornful stillness gazing as they passed. Then while they paced, a city all on fire, with sun and cloth of gold, the trumpets blew, and Arthur's knighthood sang before the king.
Blow trumpet, for the world is white with May. Blow trumpet, the long night hath rolled away. Blow through the living world, let the king reign. Shall Rome or heathen rule in Arthur's realm? Flash brand and lance, full battle axe on helm. Full battle axe and flash brand, let the king reign. Strike for the king, and lived his knights have heard that God had told the king a secret word. Fall battle axe and flash brand, let the king reign. Blow trumpet, he will lift us from the dust. Blow trumpet, live the strength and die the lust. Clang battle axe and clash brand, let the king reign. The king will follow Christ, and we the king, in whom my God hath breathed a secret thing. Fall battle axe and flash brand, let the king reign.
So sang the knighthood, moving to their hall. There, at the banquet, those great lords from Rome, the slowly fading mistress of the world, strode in and claimed their tribute as of yore. But Arthur spake.
Behold, for these have sworn to wage my wars and worship me, their king. The old order changeth, yielding place to new. And we that fight for our fair father Christ, seeing that ye be grown too weak and old to drive the heathen from your Roman wall, no tribute will we pay.
So those great lords drew back in wrath, and Arthur strove with Rome. And Arthur and his knighthood for a space were all one will, and through that strength the king drew in the petty princedoms under him, fought, and in 12 great battles overcame the heathen hordes, and made a realm, and reigned. Now Arthur, long before they crowned him king, roving the trackless realms of Lyonesse, had found a glen, grey boulder and black tarn. A horror lived about the tarn, and clave like its own mists to all the mountainside. For here 2 brothers, one a king, had met, and fought together, but their names were lost. And each had slain his brother at a blow, and down they fell and made the glen abhorred. And there they lay till all their bones were bleached, and lichened into colour with the crags. And he that once was king had on a crown of diamonds, 1 in front and 4 aside. And Arthur came, and labouring up the pass, all in a misty moonshine, unawares, had trodden that crowned skeleton, and the skull brake from the nape, and from the skull the crown rolled into light, and turning on its rims fled like a glittering rivulet to the tarn. And down the shingly scour Arthur plunged, and caught and set it on his head, and in his heart heard murmurs.
Lo, thou likewise shalt be king.
Thereafter, when a king, he had the gems plucked from the crown, and showed them to his knights.
These jewels, whereupon I chance divinely, are the kingdoms, not the kings, for public use. Henceforward let there be, once every year, a joust for one of these. For so by 9 years' proof we needs must learn which is our mightiest, and ourselves shall grow in use of arms and manhood, till we drive the heathen, who, some say, shall rule the land hereafter, which God hinder.
And 8 years passed, 8 jousts had been, and still had Lancelot won the diamond of the year, with purpose to present them to the queen when all were won, but meaning all at once to snare her royal fancy with a boon worth half her realm, had never spoken word. Now for the central diamond, and the last and largest, Arthur, holding then his court hard on the river, let proclaim a joust at Camelot, and when the time drew nigh, spake, for she had been sick, to Guinevere.
Are you so sick, my queen, you cannot move to these fair jousts?
Yea, lord, I am. Ye know it.
Then will ye miss, my lady, the great deeds of Lancelot, and his prowess in the lists, a sight ye love to look on.
And the queen lifted her eyes, and they dwelt languidly on Lancelot, where he stood beside the king. He, thinking that he read her meaning there,
Stay with me. I am sick. My love is more than many diamonds.
yielded, and a heart, love loyal to the least wish of the queen, however much he yearned to make complete the tale of diamonds for his destined boon, urged him to speak against the truth, and say,
Sir King, mine ancient wound is hardly whole, and lets me from the saddle.
And the king glanced first at him, then her, and went his way. No sooner gone than suddenly she began.
To blame, my lord Sir Lancelot, much to blame. Why go ye not to these fair jousts? The knights are half of them our enemies, and the crowd will murmur, Lo, the shameless ones who take their pastime, now the trustful king is gone.
Then Lancelot, vexed at having lied in vain.
Are you so wise? You were not once so wise, my queen, that summer when ye loved me first. Then of the crowd ye took no more account than of the myriad cricket of the mead, when its own voice clings to each blade of grass, and every voice is nothing. As to knights, them surely can I silence with all ease. But now my loyal worship is allowed of all men. Many a bard without offence has linked our names together in his lay. Lancelot, the flower of bravery, Guinevere, the pearl of beauty, and our knights at feast have pledged us in this union, while the king would listen smiling. How then? Is there more? Has Arthur spoken aught? Or would yourself, now weary of my service and devoir, henceforth be truer to your faultless lord?
Arthur, my lord, Arthur, the faultless king, that passionate perfection, my good lord. But who can gaze upon the sun in heaven? He never spake word of reproach to me. He never had a glimpse of mine untruth. He cares not for me. Only here today there gleamed a vague suspicion in his eyes. Some meddling rogue has tampered with him. Else wrapped in this fancy of his table round, and swearing men to vows impossible to make them like himself. But, friend to me, he is all fault to have no fault at all. For who loves me must have a touch of earth. The low sun makes the colour. I am yours, not Arthur's, as ye know, save by the bond. And therefore hear my words. Go to the jousts. The tiny trumpeting gnat can break our dream when sweetest, and the vermin voices here may buzz so loud. We scorn them, but they sting.
And with what face, after my pretext made, shall I appear, O queen, at Camelot? I, before a king who honours his own word as if it were his God's.
Yea, what a king! A moral child without the craft to rule, else had he not lost me. But listen to me, if I must find you wit. We hear it said that men go down before your spear at a touch, but knowing you are Lancelot, your great name, this conquers. Hide it, therefore. Go unknown. Win. By this kiss you will. And our true king will then allow your pretext. Oh, my knight, as all for glory, for to speak him true, ye know right well, how meek soe'er he seem, no keener hunter after glory breathes. He loves it in his knights more than himself. They prove to him his work. Win, and return.
Then got Sir Lancelot suddenly to horse, wroth at himself. Not willing to be known, he left the barren beaten thoroughfare, chose the green path that showed the rarer foot, and there among the solitary downs, full often lost in fancy, lost his way. Till, as he traced a faintly shadowed track, that all in loops and links among the dales ran to the castle of Astolat, he saw, fired from the west, far on a hill, the towers. Thither he made, and blew the gateway horn. Then came an old, dumb, myriad-wrinkled man, who let him into lodging and disarmed. And Lancelot marvelled at the wordless man, and issuing found the lord of Astolat, with 2 strong sons, Sir Tor and Sir Lavaine, moving to meet him in the castle court. And close behind him stepped the lily maid, Elaine, his daughter. Mother of the house there was not. Some light jest among them rose, with laughter dying down as the great knight approached them. Then the lord of Astolat.
Whence comest thou, my guest? And by what name livest between the lips? For by thy state and presence I might guess thee chief of those, after the king, who eat in Arthur's halls. Him have I seen. The rest, his table round, known as they are, to me they are unknown.
Known am I, and of Arthur's hall, and known what I by mere mischance have brought, my shield. But since I go to joust as one unknown at Camelot for the diamond, ask me not. Hereafter ye shall know me. And the shield, I pray you lend me one, if such you have, blank, or at least with some device not mine.
Here is Tor's. Hurt in his first tilt was my son, Sir Tor, and so, God wot, his shield is blank enough. His ye can have. But Lavaine, my younger, he is so full of lustihood he will ride, joust for it and win, and bring it in an hour, and set it in this damsel's golden hair, to make her thrice as wilful as before.
Nay, father, nay, good father, shame me not before this noble knight,
said young Lavaine.
Win shall I not, but do my best to win. Young as I am, yet would I do my best.
So ye will grace me with your fellowship o'er these waste downs whereon I lost myself. Then were I glad of you as guide and friend. And you shall win this diamond, as I hear it is a fair large diamond, if ye may. And yield it to this maiden, if ye will.
A fair large diamond,
added plain Sir Tor.
Such be for queens and not for simple maids.
Then she who held her eyes upon the ground, Elaine, and heard her name so tossed about, flushed slightly at the slight disparagement before the stranger knight, who, looking at her, full courtly, yet not falsely, thus returned.
If what is fair be but for what is fair, and only queens are to be counted so, rash were my judgment then, who deem this maid might wear as fair a jewel as is on earth, not violating the bond of like to like.
The lily maid Elaine, won by the mellow voice before she looked, lifted her eyes and read his lineaments. The great and guilty love he bare the queen, in battle with the love he bare his lord, had marred his face and marked it ere his time. Another, sinning on such heights with one, the flower of all the West and all the world, had been the sleeker for it, but in him his mood was often like a fiend, and rose and drove him into wastes and solitudes for agony, who was yet a living soul. Marred as he was, he seemed the goodliest man that ever among ladies ate in hall, and noblest when she lifted up her eyes. However marred of more than twice her years, scarred with an ancient sword cut on the cheek, and bruised and bronzed, she lifted up her eyes and loved him with that love which was her doom.
Fair lord, whose name I know not, noble it is, I well believe, the noblest. Will you wear my favour at this tourney?
Nay, not I, fair lady, since I never yet have worn favour of any lady in the lists. Such is my wont, as those who know me know.
Yea, So, my fair lord, then in wearing mine, needs must be lesser likelihood, noble knight, that those who know should know you.
And he turned her counsel up and down within his mind, and found it true, and answered,
True, my child. Well, I will wear it. Fetch it out to me. What is it that you give me?
A red sleeve broidered with pearls.
She brought it. Then he bound her token on his helmet with a smile, saying,
I never yet have done so much for any maiden living.
And the blood sprang to her face and filled her with delight, but left her all the paler when Lavaine, returning, brought the yet unblazoned shield, his brother's, which he gave to Lancelot, who parted with his own to fair Elaine.
Do me this grace, my child, to have my shield in keeping till I come.
A grace to me. Twice today I am your squire.
Whereat Lavaine said, laughing,
Lily Maid. For fear our people call you Lily Maid in earnest, let me bring your colour back. Once, twice, and thrice. Now, get you hence to bed.
So kissed her, and Sir Lancelot his own hand, and thus they moved away. She stayed a minute, then made a sudden step to the gate, and there, her bright hair blown about the serious face, yet rosy kindled with her brother's kiss, paused by the gateway, standing near the shield, in silence, while she watched their arms far off sparkle until they dipped below the downs. Then to her tower she climbed, and took the shield, there kept it, and so lived in fantasy. Meanwhile, the new companions passed away, far o'er the long backs of the bushless downs.
Here, but hold my name hidden. You ride with Lancelot of the Lake.
Is it indeed? The great Lord Lancelot? One have I seen. That other, our liege lord, the dread Pendragon, Britain's king of kings, of whom the people talk mysteriously. He will be there. Then were I stricken blind that minute, I might say that I had seen.
So spake Lavaine, and when they reached the lists by Camelot in the meadow, let his eyes run through the peopled gallery, which half round lay like a rainbow fallen upon the grass, until they found the clear-faced king, who sat robed in red samite, easily to be known, since to his crown the golden dragon clung, and in the costly canopy o'er him set blazed the last diamond of the nameless king. Then Lancelot answered young Lavaine, and said,
Me you call great. Mine is the firmer seat, the truer lance. But there is many a youth now crescent who will come to all I am and overcome it. And in thee there dwells no greatness, save it be some far-off touch of greatness to know well I am not great. There is the man.
And Lavaine gaped upon him, as on a thing miraculous, and anon the trumpets blew, and then did either side, they that assailed and they that held the lists, set lance in rest, strike spur, suddenly move, meet in the midst, and there so furiously shock that a man far off might well perceive, if any man that day were left afield, the hard earth shake, and a low thunder of arms. And Lancelot bowed a little till he saw which were the weaker, then he hurled into it against the stronger. Little need to speak of Lancelot in his glory, king, duke, earl, count, baron, whom he smote, he overthrew. But in the field were Lancelot's kith and kin, ranged with the table round that held the lists, strong men, and wrathful that a stranger knight should do and almost overdo the deeds of Lancelot. And one said to the other,
Lo! What is he? I do not mean the force alone. The grace and versatility of the man. Is it not Lancelot?
When has Lancelot won favour of any lady in the lists? Not such his wont as we that know him know.
How then? Who then?
A fury seized them all, a fiery family passion for the name of Lancelot, and a glory one with theirs. They couched their spears and pricked their steeds, and thus, their plumes driven backward by the wind they made in moving, all together down upon him bare, as a wild wave in the wide North Sea, green glimmering toward the summit, bears with all its stormy crests that smoke against the skies, down on a bark, and overbears the bark, and him that helms it. So they overbore Sir Lancelot and his charger, and a spear, down glancing, lamed the charger, and a spear pricked sharply his own cuirass, and the head pierced through his side, and there snapped and remained. Then Sir Lavaine did well and worshipfully. He bore a knight of old repute to the earth, and brought his horse to Lancelot where he lay. He, up the side, sweating with agony, got, but thought to do while he might yet endure, and being lustily holpen by the rest, his party, though it seemed half miracle to those he fought with, drave his kith and kin, and all the table round that held the lists back to the barrier. Then the trumpets blew, proclaiming his the prize, who wore the sleeve of scarlet and the pearls, and all the knights, his party, cried,
"Advance and take thy prize!"
The diamond. Diamonds mean no diamonds. For God's love, a little air. Prize me no prizes, for my prize is death. Hence will I, and I charge you, follow me not.
He spoke and vanished suddenly from the field, with young Lavaine into the poplar grove. There from his charger down he slid, and sat, gasping to Sir Lavaine.
Draw the lancet. Oh, my sweet Lord Sir Lancelot, how can I? I dread me, if I draw it, you will die.
Lavaine, I die already with it. Draw. Draw.
And half his blood burst forth, and down he sank for the pure pain, and wholly swooned away. Then came a hermit out, and bare him in. There stanched his wound, and there, in daily doubt, whether to live or die, for many a week, hid from the wide world's rumour by the grove of poplars with their noise of falling showers and ever-tremulous aspen trees, he lay. But on that day, when Lancelot fled the lists, Arthur's party, knights of utmost north and west, lords of waste marches, kings of desolate isles, came round their great Pendragon, saying to him,
"Lo, sire, our knight, through whom we won the day, hath gone sore wounded, and hath left his prize untaken, crying that his prize is death."
Heaven hinder. And such an one, so great a knight as we have seen today, he seemed to me another Lancelot. Yea, 20 times I thought him Lancelot. He must not pass uncared for. Wherefore, rise, O Gawain, and ride forth and find the knight. And, knights and kings, there breathes not one of you will deem this prize of ours is rashly given. His prowess was too wondrous. We will do him no customary honour. Since the knight came not to us, of us to claim the prize, ourselves will send it after. Take this diamond and deliver it, and return and bring us where he is and how he fares, and cease not from your quest until ye find.
So all in wrath he got to horse and went, while Arthur to the banquet, dark in mood, passed, thinking,
Is it Lancelot who hath come despite the wound he spake of, all for gain of glory, and hath added wound to wound, and ridden away to die?
So feared the king, and after 2 days' tarriance there, returned. Then when he saw the queen, embracing, asked,
Love, are you yet so sick?
Nay, Lord, no more.
And where is Lancelot?
Was he not with you? Won he not your prize?
Nay, but one like him.
Why, that like was he.
And when the king demanded how she knew, said,
Lord, no sooner had ye parted from us than Lancelot told me of a common talk that men went down before his spear at a touch, but knowing he was Lancelot, his great name conquered, and therefore would he hide his name from all men, even the king, and to this end had made the pretext of a hindering wound, that he might joust unknown of all, and learn if his old prowess were in aught decayed, and added, our true Arthur, when he learns, will well allow my pretext as for gain of purer glory.
Far lovelier in our Lancelot had it been, in lieu of idly dallying with the truth, to have trusted me as he hath trusted thee. Surely his king and most familiar friend might well have kept his secret. True, indeed, albeit I know my knight's fantastical, so fine a fear in our large Lancelot must needs have moved my laughter. Now remains but little cause for laughter. His own kin. Ill news, my queen, for all who love him, this. His kith and kin, not knowing, set upon him, so that he went sore wounded from the field. Yet good news, too. For goodly hopes are mine that Lancelot is no more a lonely heart. He wore against his wont upon his helm a sleeve of scarlet, broidered with great pearls, some gentle maiden's gift.
Yea, Lord, thy hopes are ever mine.
And saying that, she choked, and sharply turned about to hide her face, passed to her chamber, and there flung herself down on the great king's couch, and writhed upon it, and clenched her fingers till they bit the palm, and shrieked out, "Traitor!" to the unhearing wall, then flashed into wild tears, and rose again, and moved about her palace, proud and pale. Gawain, the while, through all the region round, rode with his diamond, wearied of the quest, touched at all points except the poplar grove, and came at last, though late, to Astolat, whom, glittering in enamelled arms, the maid glanced at and cried,
"What news from Camelot, Lord? What of the knight with the red sleeve?"
He won,
I knew that he would.
but parted from the jousts, hurt in the side.
whereat she caught her breath. Through her own side she felt the sharp lance go. Thereon she smote her hand, well nigh she swooned. And while he gazed wonderingly at her, came the Lord of Astolat out, to whom the prince reported who he was and on what quest sent, that he bore the prize and could not find the victor, but had ridden a random round to seek him, and had wearied of the search.
Bide with us, and ride no more at random, noble prince. Here was the knight, and here he left a shield.
And when the shield was brought, and Gawain saw Sir Lancelot's azure lions, crowned with gold, ramp in the field, he smote his thigh and mocked.
Right was the king, our Lancelot, that true man.
And right was I, the greatest knight of all. I know not if I know what true love is, but if I know, then if I love not him, I know there is none other I can love.
Yea, by God's death, I say ye love him well, but would not. Knew ye what all others know, and whom he loves?
So be it.
Oh, stay a while. One golden minute's grace. He wore your sleeve. Would he break faith with one I may not name? Must our true man change like a leaf at last? So, damsel, for I deem you know full well where your great knight is hidden, let me leave my quest with you. The diamond also. Here.
Then he gave, and slightly kissed the hand to which he gave, the diamond, and, all wearied of the quest, leapt on his horse, and carolling as he went a true love ballad, lightly rode away. Thence to the court he passed, there told the king what the king knew.
Sir Lancelot is the knight, I swear it, sire, my liege, so much I learnt, but failed to find him, though I rode all round the region. But I lighted on the maid whose sleeve he wore. She loves him. And to her, deeming our courtesy as the truest law, I gave the diamond. She will render it, for by mine head she knows his hiding place.
Too courteous, truly. Ye shall go no more on quest of mine, seeing that ye forget obedience is the courtesy due to kings.
He spoke and parted, wroth, but all in awe. For 20 strokes of the blood, without a word, lingered Arthur, staring after him. Then shook his hair, strode off, and buzzed abroad about the maid of Astolat and her love. All ears were pricked at once, all tongues were loosed.
The maid of Astolat loves Sir Lancelot. Sir Lancelot loves the maid of Astolat.
Some read the king's face, some the queen's, and all had marvel what the maid might be, but most predoomed her as unworthy. One old dame came suddenly on the queen with the sharp news. She that had heard the noise of it before, but sorrowing Lancelot should have stooped so low, marred her friend's aim with pale tranquillity. So ran the tale like fire about the court, fire in dry stubble, and 9 days' wonder flared, till even the knights at banquet, twice or thrice, forgot to drink to Lancelot and the queen, and pledging Lancelot and the lily maid, smiled at each other, while the queen felt the knot climb in her throat, and with her feet unseen crushed the wild passion out against the floor beneath the banquet, where the meats became as wormwood, and she hated all who pledged. But far away the maid in Astolat, her guiltless rival, she that ever kept the one day seen Sir Lancelot in her heart, crept to her father while he mused alone, sat on his knee, stroked his grey face, and said,
Father, you call me wilful, and the fault is yours who let me have my will. And now, sweet father, will you let me lose my wits?
Being so very wilful, you must go.
Then rose Elaine and glided through the fields, and passed beneath the weirdly sculptured gates, far up the dim rich city to her kin. There bode the night, but woke with dawn, and passed down through the dim rich city to the fields, thence to the cave. So day by day she passed in either twilight, ghost-like to and fro, gliding, and every day she tended him, and likewise many a night, till the hermit, skilled in all the simples and the science of that time, told him that her fine care had saved his life. And the sick man forgot her simple blush, would call her friend and sister, sweet Elaine, would listen for her coming and regret her parting step, and held her tenderly, and loved her with all love except the love of man and woman when they love their best, closest and sweetest, and had died the death in any knightly fashion for her sake. And peradventure had he seen her first, she might have made this and that other world another world for the sick man. But now the shackles of an old love straitened him. His honour rooted in dishonour stood, and faith unfaithful kept him falsely true. Yet the great knight in his mid-sickness made full many a holy vow and pure resolve. These, as but born of sickness, could not live. For when the blood ran lustier in him again, full often the bright image of one face, making a treacherous quiet in his heart, dispersed his resolution like a cloud. Then, if the maiden, while that ghostly grace beamed on his fancy, spoke, he answered not, or short and coldly, and she knew right well what the rough sickness meant, but what this meant she knew not. And the sorrow dimmed her sight, and drave her ere her time across the fields, far into the rich city, where alone she murmured,
Vain, in vain, it cannot be. He will not love me. How then must I die?
But when Sir Lancelot's deadly hurt was whole, to Astolat returning rode the three. There, morn by morn, arraying her sweet self in that wherein she deemed she looked her best, she came before Sir Lancelot, for she thought,
If I be loved, these are my festal robes. If not, the victim's flowers before he fall.
And Lancelot ever pressed upon the maid that she should ask some goodly gift of him, for her own self or hers.
And do not shun to speak the wish most near to your true heart. Such service have ye done me that I make my will of yours. And prince and lord am I in mine own land, and what I will, I can.
Then like a ghost she lifted up her face, but like a ghost without the power to speak. And Lancelot saw that she withheld her wish, and bode among them yet a little space, till he should learn it. And one morn it chanced he found her in among the garden yews, and said,
Delay no longer, speak your wish, seeing I go today.
I have gone mad. I love you. Oh, let me die.
Oh, sisters. Sweetest sister, what is this?
Your love. Your love. I long to be your wife.
Had I chosen to, I could be wedded. But now there never will be wife of mine.
No, no, my lord. I care not to be wife, but to be with you still. To see your face, to serve you, and to follow you through the world.
Oh, sweetest sister, nay. The world, all ear and eye, with such a stupid heart to interpret ear and eye, and such a tongue to blare its own interpretation, nay. Full ill then should I quit your brother's love and your good father's kindness.
Not to love, not to be with you, not to see your face. Alas for me, then my good days are done.
This is not love, but love's first flash in youth. Most common, yea, I know it of mine own self. And you yourself will smile at your own self hereafter, when you yield your flower of life to one more fitly yours, not twice your age. And then will I, for true you are and sweet beyond mine old belief in womanhood, more specially should your good knight be poor, endow you with broad land and territory, even to the half my realm beyond the seas, so that would make you happy. Furthermore, even to the death, as though you were my blood, in all your quarrels will I be your knight. This will I do, dear damsel, for your sake. And more than this, I cannot.
Of all this, will I nothing.
And so fell, and thus they bore her, swooning, to her tower. Then spake, to whom through those black walls of yew their talk had pierced, her father.
Aye, a flash, I fear me, that will strike my blossom dead. Too courteous are ye, fair Lord Lancelot. I pray you, use some rough discourtesy to blunt or break her passion.
And so Lancelot remained, and toward even sent for his shield. Full meekly rose the maid, stripped off the case, and gave the naked shield. Then, when she heard his horse upon the stones, unclasping, flung the casement back, and looked down on his helm, from which her sleeve had gone, and Lancelot knew the little clinking sound. And she, by tact of love, was well aware that Lancelot knew that she was looking at him, and yet he glanced not up, nor waved his hand, nor bade farewell, but sadly rode away. This was the one discourtesy that he used.
Sweet is true love, though given in vain, and sweet is death, who puts an end to pain. I know not which is sweeter, no, not I. Love, art thou sweet, then bitter death must be. Love, thou art bitter, sweet is death to me. Oh, love, if death be sweeter, let me die. Sweet love that seems not made to fade away, make us loveless clay. I know not which is sweeter, no, not I. I fain would follow love, if that could be. I needs must follow death, who calls for me. Call and I follow, let me die.
Now Arthur and Sir Lancelot, riding once far down beneath a winding wall of rock, heard a child wail. A stump of oak, half dead, from roots like some black coil of carven snakes, clutched at the crag, and started through mid-air, bearing an eagle's nest. And through the tree rushed ever a rainy wind, and through the wind pierced ever a child's cry. And crag and tree scaling, Sir Lancelot from the perilous nest a ruby necklace thrice around her neck, and all unscarred from beak or talon, brought a maiden babe, which Arthur, pitying, took. Then gave it to his queen to rear, the queen but coldly acquiescing, in her white arms received, and after loved it tenderly, and named it Nestling. So forgot herself a moment and her cares, till that young life, being smitten in mid-heaven with mortal cold, passed from her. And in time the necklace vexed her with plaintive memories of the child. So she, delivering it to Arthur, said,
Take thou the jewels of this dead innocence, and make them, an thou wilt, a tourney prize.
She ended, and the cry of a great jousts with trumpet blowings ran on all the ways from Camelot in among the faded fields to furthest towers, and everywhere the knights armed for the day of glory before the king. But on the hither side of that loud morn, into the hall staggered, his visage ribbed from ear to ear with dog-whip wheels, his nose bridge broken, one eye out and one hand off, and one with shattered fingers dangling lame, a churl, to whom, indignantly, the king...
My churl, for whom Christ died, what evil beast hath drawn his claws athwart thy face? Or fiend, man was it, who marred heaven's image in thee thus?
Lord, I was tending swine, and the Red Knight brake in upon me and drave them to his tower. And when I called upon thy name as one that doest right by gentle and by churl, maimed me and mauled, and would outright have slain, save that he sware me to a message, saying, Tell thou the king and all his liars that I have founded my round table in the north, and whatsoever his own knights have sworn, my knights have sworn the counter to it. And say, my tower is full of harlots like his court, but mine are worthier, seeing they profess to be none other than themselves. And say, my knights are all adulterers like his own, but mine are truer, seeing they profess to be none other. And say, his hour is come. The heathen are upon him, his long lance broken, and his Excalibur straw.
Then Arthur turned to his old steward, Kay.
Take thou this churl, and tend him curiously like a king's heir, till all his hurts be whole. The heathen, but that ever-climbing wave, hurled back again so often in empty foam, hath lain for years at rest, and renegades, thieves, bandits, leavings of confusion, whom the wholesome realm is purged of otherwhere, friends through your manhood and your fealty, now make their last head like Satan in the north. My younger knight, new maid, in whom your flower waits to be solid fruit of golden deeds, move with me toward their quelling, which achieved, The loneliest ways are safe from shore to shore. But thou, Sir Lancelot, sitting in my place, enchaired tomorrow, arbitrate the field. For wherefore shouldst thou care to mingle with it, only to yield my queen her own again? Speak, Lancelot. Thou art silent. Is it well?
It's better if the king abide and leave the leading of his younger knights to me. Else, for the king has willed it, it is well.
Is it then so well? Or mine the blame that oft I seem as he of whom was written, a sound is in his ears, the foot that loiters bidden go, the glance that only seems half loyal to command? A manner somewhat fallen from reverence, or have I dreamed the bearing of our knights tells of a manhood ever less and lower? Or whence the fear lest this my realm, upreared by noble deeds at one with noble vows, from flat confusion and brute violences, reel back into the beast and be no more?
He spoke, and taking all his younger knights down the slope city road, and sharply turned north by the gate. In her high bower the queen, working a tapestry, lifted up her head, watched her lord pass, and knew not that she sighed. Then ran across her memory the strange rhyme of bygone Merlin. Where is he who knows? From the great deep to the great deep he goes. But when the morning of a tournament, by these in earnest, those in mockery, called the Tournament of the Dead Innocents, brake with a wet wind blowing, Lancelot, round whose sick head all night like birds of prey the words of Arthur flying shrieked, arose, and down a streetway hung with folds of pure white samite, and by fountains running wine, where children sat in white with cups of gold, Lancelot moved to the lists, and there, with slow, sad steps, ascending, filled his double-dragoned chair. The sudden trumpet sounded as in a dream to ears but half awaked. Then one low roll of autumn thunder, and the jousts began. And ever the wind blew, and yellowing leaf and gloom and gleam and shower and shorn plume went down it, sighing weariedly, as one who sits and gazes on a faded fire when all the goodlier guests are passed away, sat their great umpire looking o'er the lists. He saw the laws that ruled the tournament broken, but spake not. Once a knight cast down before his throne of arbitration cursed the dead babe and the follies of the king, and once the laces of a helmet cracked and showed him like a vermin in its hole, Mordred, a narrow face. Anon he heard the voice that billowed round the barriers roar, an ocean-sounding welcome to one knight but newly entered, taller than the rest, and armoured all in forest green, whereon there tripped 100 tiny silver deer, and wearing but a holly spray for crest, with ever scattering berries, and on shield a spear, a harp, a bugle. Tristram, late from overseas in Brittany returned, and marriage with a princess of that realm, Iseult the White, Sir Tristram of the Woods, whom Lancelot knew had held some time with pain his own against him, and now yearned to shake the burthen off his heart in one full shock with Tristram even to death. So many of those that wear their ladies' colours on the casque drew from before Sir Tristram to the bounds, and there with gibes and flickering mockeries stood, while he muttered,
Craven crests, oh shame! What faith have these in whom they swear to love? The glory of our round table is no more.
So Tristram won, and Lancelot gave the gems, not speaking other word than,
Hast thou won? Art thou the purest, brother? See, the hand wherewith thou takest this is red.
To whom Tristram, half plagued by Lancelot's languorous mood, made answer,
Aye, But wherefore toss me this like a dry bone cast to some hungry hound? Let be thy fair queen's fantasy. Strength of heart and might of limb, but mainly use and skill are winners in this pastime of our king. My hand, belike the lance hath dripped upon it, no blood of mine, I trow. But, O chief knight, right arm of Arthur in the battlefield, great brother, thou nor I have made the world. Be happy in thy fair queen, as I in mine.
And Tristram round the gallery made his horse caracole, then bowed his homage, bluntly saying,
Fair damsels, each to him who worships each sole queen of beauty and of love. Behold, this day my queen of beauty is not here.
And most of these were mute, some angered, one murmuring,
All courtesy is dead.
and one...
The glory of our round table is no more.
Then fell thick rain, plume drooped and mantle clung, and pettish cries awoke, and the one day went glooming down in wet and weariness. And little Dagonet, on the morrow morn, high over all the yellowing autumn tide, danced like a withered leaf before the hall. Then Tristram, saying,
Why skip ye so, sir fool?
Belike for lack of wiser company, or being fool and seeing too much wit makes the world rotten. Why, belike I skip to know myself the wisest knight of all.
Aye, fool, such wisdom, but 'tis eating dry to dance without a catch, a roundelay to dance too.
Then he twangled on his harp, and while he twangled, little Dagonet stood quiet as any water-sodden log stayed in the wandering warble of a brook, but when the twangling ended, skipped again, and being asked,
Why skipped ye not, sir fool?
Such wisdom! I had liefer 20 years skip to the broken music of my brains than any broken music thou canst make.
Good now, what music have I broken, fool?
Arthur, the king's! For when thou playest that air with Queen Isolde, thou makest broken music with thy bride, her daintier namesake down in Brittany, and so thou breakest Arthur's music too.
Save for that broken music in thy brains, sir fool, I tell thee I would break thy head.
Friend, did ye mark that fountain yesterday made to run wine? But they said run itself all out like a long life to a sour end. And them that round it sat with golden cups to hand the wine to whosoever came. The 12 small damosels, white as innocence, in honour of poor Innocence the babe, who left the gems which Innocence the queen lent to the king, and Innocence the king gave for a prize. And one of those white slips handed a cup and piped, the pretty one, Drink, drink, sir fool, and thereupon I drank. Spat! Psst! The cup was gold, the draught was mud.
I ask thee, was it muddier than thy jibes? Is all the laughter gone dead out of thee, not marking how the knight would mock thee, fool? Fear God, honour the king, his one true knight, sole follower of the vows. For here be they who knew thee, swine, enow before I came, smuttier than blasted grain. But when the king had made thee fool, thy vanity so shot up, it frighted all free fool from out thy heart, which left thee less than fool, and less than swine, a naked ought. Yet swine, I hold thee still, for I have flung thee pearls, and find thee swine.
Knight, an ye fling those rubies round my neck in lieu of hers, I'll hold thou hast some touch of music, since I care not for thy pearls. Swine! I have wallowed, I have washed. The world is flesh and shadow. I have had my day. The dirty nurse, experience in her kind, hath fouled me. And I wallowed, then I washed. I've had my day and my philosophies. And thank the Lord I am King Arthur's fool.
I tell thee, then were swine, goats, asses, geese, the wiser fools, seeing thy Paynim bard had such a mastery of his mystery that he could harp his wife up out of hell.
And whither harpst thou thine? Down! And thyself down! and 2 more. A helpful harper thou, that harpers downwards. Dost thou know the star we call the harp of Arthur up in heaven?
Aye, sir fool, I know it. For when our king was victor, well nigh day by day, the knights, glorying in each new glory, set his name high on all hills and in the signs of heaven.
Aye. And when the queen was false, ye set yourself to babble about him, all to show your wit. And whether he were king by courtesy or king by right, and so went harping down the Black King's highway, got so far, and grew so witty that ye played at ducks and drakes with Arthur's vows on the great lake of fire. True! D'ye see it? D'ye see the star? Well, I, and Arthur, and the angels here, and then we skip.
Lo, fool, I hear. Ye talk fool's treason. Is the king thy brother, fool?
Aye, my brother fool, the king of fools, conceits himself as a god that he can make figs out of thistles, silk from bristles, milk from burning spurge, honey from hornet combs, and men from beasts. Long live the king of fools!
And down the city Dagonet danced away. Meantime, King Arthur, with 100 spears, rode far, till o'er the illimitable reed, and many a glancing plash and sallowy isle, the wide-winged sunset of the misty marsh glared on a huge machicolated tower that stood with open doors, whereout was rolled a roar of riot, as from men secure amid their marshes, ruffians at their ease among their harlot brides and evil song. Lo, there, said one of Arthur's youth, for there, high on a grim dead tree before the tower, a goodly brother of the Table Round, swung by the neck, and on the boughs a shield showing a shower of blood in a field noir. And there beside a horn inflamed the knights at that dishonour done the gilded spur, till each would clash the shield and blow the horn. But Arthur waved them back. Alone he rode. Then, at the dry, harsh roar of the great horn that sent the face of all the marsh aloft, an ever upward rushing storm and cloud of shriek and plume, the Red Knight heard, and all, even to tipmost lance and topmost helm, in blood-red armour, sally, howled to the king.
The teeth of hell flay bare and gnash thee flat! Ooh! Art thou not that eunuch-hearted king who fain had clipped free manhood from the world? The woman-worshipper? Ye gods curse and I! Slain was the brother of my paramour by a knight of thine, and I that heard her whine and snivel, being eunuch-hearted too, swear by the scorpion worm that twists in hell and stings itself to everlasting death, to hang whatever knight of thine I fought and tumbled. Art thou king? Look to thy life!
He ended. Arthur knew the voice. The face, well nigh, was helmet hidden, and the name went wandering somewhere, darkling in his mind. And Arthur deigned not use of word or sword, but let the drunkard, as he stretched from horse to strike him, overbalancing his bulk, down from the causeway, heavily to the swamp, fall. Then the knights who watched him roared and shouted and leapt down upon the fall. There trampled out his face from being known, and sank his head in mire and slimed themselves. Nor heard the king for their own cries, but sprang through open doors, and swording right and left, men, women on their sodden faces, hurled the tables over and the wines, and slew, till all the rafters rang with woman yells, and all the pavement streamed with massacre. Then, echoing yell with yell, they fired the tower, which half that autumn night, like the live north, red pulsing up through Alioth and Alcor, made all above it and 100 milers about it, as the water Moab saw come round by the east, and out beyond them flushed the long, low dune and lazy, plunging sea. So all the ways were safe from shore to shore, but in the heart of Arthur, pain was lord. That night came Arthur home, and while he climbed, all in a death-dumb, autumn-dripping gloom, the stairway to the hall, and looked and saw the great queen's bower was dark. About his feet a voice clung, sobbing, till he questioned it.
What art thou?
And the voice about his feet sent up an answer, sobbing,
I am thy fool, and I shall never make thee smile again.
Queen Guinevere had fled the court and sat there in the holy house at Almesbury, weeping, none with her save a little maid, a novice. One low light betwixt them burned, blurred by the creeping mist, for all abroad, beneath a moon unseen, albeit at full, the white mist, like a face-cloth to the face, clung to the dead earth, and the land was still. For hither had she fled, her cause of flight, Sir Mordred, he that like a subtle beast lay cushioned with his eyes upon the throne, ready to spring, waiting a chance. For this he chilled the popular praises of the king with silent smiles of slow disparagement, and tampered with the lords of the White Horse, heathen, the brood by Hengist left, and sought to make disruption in the Table Round of Arthur, and to splinter it into feuds, serving his traitorous end. And all his aims were sharpened by strong hate for Lancelot. For thus it chanced one morn, when all the court, green-suited but with plumes that mocked the May, had been their wont a-maying and returned, that Mordred, still in green, all ear and eye, climbed to the high top of the garden wall, to spy some secret scandal if he might, and saw the queen who sat betwixt her best, Enid, and lissom Vivian, of her court the wiliest and the worst, and more than this, he saw not, for Sir Lancelot, passing by, spied where he couched, and as the gardener's hand picks from the coal-water green caterpillar, so from the high wall and the flowering grove of grasses, Lancelot plucked him by the heel and cast him as a worm upon the way. And when he knew the prince, though marred with dust, he, reverencing king's blood in a bad man, made such excuses as he might, and these full knightly without scorn. So Sir Lancelot holp to raise the prince, who, rising twice or thrice, full sharply smote his knees, and smiled, and went. But ever after the small violence done rankled in him, and ruffled all his heart, as the sharp wind that ruffles all day long a little bitter pool about a stone on the bare coast. But when Sir Lancelot told this matter to the queen, at first she laughed lightly to think of Mordred's dusty fall, then shuddered, for indeed she half foresaw that he, the subtle beast, would track her guilt until he found, and hers would be for evermore a name of scorn. Henceforward rarely could she front, in hall or elsewhere, Mordred's narrow, foxy face, heart-hiding smile, and grey, persistent eye. henceforward too, the powers that tend the soul, to help it from the death that cannot die and save it even in extremes, began to vex and plague her. And all this trouble did not pass, but grew, till even the clear face of the guileless king and trustful courtesies of household life became her bane, and at the last she said,
"O Lancelot, get thee hence to thine own land, for if thou tarry we shall meet again, and if we meet again some evil chance will make the smouldering scandal break and blaze before the people and our lord the king."
And Lancelot ever promised, but remained, and still they met and met. Again she said,
"O Lancelot, if thou love me, get thee hence."
And then they were agreed upon a night, when the good king should not be there, to meet and part for ever. Vivian, lurking, heard. She told Sir Mordred. Passion pale they met and greeted, hands in hands and eye to eye. Low on the border of her couch they sat, stammering and staring. It was their last hour, a madness of farewells. And Mordred brought his creatures to the basement of the tower for testimony, and crying with full voice,
"Traitor! Come out! Ye are trapped at last!"
aroused Lancelot, who rushing outward lion-like, leapt on him and hurled him headlong, and he fell stunned, and his creatures took and bare him off, and all was still. Then she...
"The end is come, and I am shamed forever."
"No, lady. Mine be the shame. Mine was the sin. But rise, and fly to my strong castle overseas. There will I hide thee till my life shall end. There hold thee with my life against the world."
"Lancelot, wilt thou hold me so? We cannot. Nay, friend, for we have taken our farewells. Would God that thou couldst hide me from myself. Mine is the shame, for I was wife and thou unwedded. Yet rise now, and let us fly, for I will draw me into sanctuary and bide my doom."
So Lancelot got her horse, set her thereon, and mounted on his own, and then they rode to the divided way. There kissed and parted, weeping, for he passed, love-loyal to the least wish of the queen, back to his land, but she to Almesbury fled, all night long by glimmering waste and weald, till in the cold wind that foreruns the morn, a blot in heaven, the raven, flying high, croaked, and she thought,
"He spies a field of death. For now the heathen of the northern sea, lured by the crimes and frailties of the court, begin to slay the folk and spoil the land."
And when she came to Almesbury, she spake there to the nuns, and said,
"Mine enemies pursue me, but, O peaceful sisterhood, receive and yield me sanctuary, nor ask her name to whom ye yield it, till her time to tell you."
So the stately queen abode for many a week, unknown among the nuns, nor with them mixed, nor told her name, nor sought, wrapped in her grief, for housel or for shrift, but communed only with the little maid, who pleased her with a babbling heedlessness, which often lured her from herself. But now, this night, a rumour wildly blown about came that Sir Mordred had usurped the realm and leagued him with the heathen, while the king was waging war on Lancelot. Then she thought,
"With what a hate the people and the king must hate me."
and bowed down upon her hands silent, until the little maid, who brooked no silence, brake it, uttering,
Late, so late. What hour, I wonder now?
Oh, maiden, if indeed ye list to sing, sing, and unbind my heart that I may weep.
Late, late, so late, and dark the night and chill. Late, late, so late, but we can enter still. Too late, ye cannot enter now. No light had we, for that we do repent, and learning this, the bridegroom will relent. Too late, ye cannot enter now. No light so late, and dark and chill the night. Oh, let us in, that we may find the light. Too late, ye cannot enter now. Have we not heard the bridegroom is so sweet? Oh, let us in, though late, to kiss his feet. No, too late, ye cannot enter now. Oh, pray you, noble lady, weep no more, but weigh your sorrows with our lord the king's, and weighing find them less. For gone is he to wage grim war against Sir Lancelot there round that strong castle where he holds the queen. And Mordred, whom he left in charge of all, the traitor. Ah, sweet lady, the king's grief for his own self and his own queen and realm must needs be thrice as great as any of ours.
Must not I, if this false traitor have displaced his lord, grieve with the common grief of all the realm?
Yea, it is true. This is all woman's grief, that she is woman, whose disloyal life hath wrought confusion in the Table Round, which good King Arthur founded years ago, with signs and miracles and wonders, there at Camelot ere the coming of the queen.
Oh, little maid, shut in by nunnery walls, what canst thou know of kings and tables round, or what of signs and wonders but the signs and simple miracles of thy nunnery?
To whom the novice garrulously again,
Yea, but I know. The land was full of signs and wonders ere the coming of the queen. So said my father, and himself was knight of the great table at the founding of it.
Then thought the queen,
Lo, they have set her on, our simple seeming abbess and her nuns, to play upon me.
and bowed her head nor spake. Whereat the novice, crying with clasped hands, shame on her own garrulity, garrulously said the good nuns would check her gadding tongue full often.
And, sweet lady, if I seem to vex an ear too sad to listen to me, unmannerly with prattling and the tales which my good father told me, check me too, nor let me shame my father's memory. And pray you check me if I ask amiss. And pray you, which had noblest, while you moved among them, Lancelot or our lord the king?
Sir Lancelot, as became a noble knight, was gracious to all ladies, and the same in open battle or the tilting field forbore his own advantage, and the king, in open battle or the tilting field, forbore his own advantage. And these two were the most nobly mannered men of all. For manners are not idle, but the fruit of loyal nature and of noble mind.
Then Lancelot's needs must be 1,000-fold less noble, being, as all rumours run, the most disloyal friend in all the world.
Such as thou art, be never maiden more forever. Thou, their tool, set on to plague and play upon and harry me, petty spy and traitress!
When that storm of anger brake from Guinevere, aghast the maiden arose, white as her veil, and stood before the queen as tremulously as foam upon the beach stands in a wind, ready to break and fly. And when the queen had added,
"Get thee hence!"
fled frightened. Then that other, left alone, sighed and began to gather heart again, saying in herself,
The simple, fearful child meant nothing. But mine own too fearful guilt, simpler than any child, betrays itself. But help me, heaven, for surely I repent. For what is true repentance but in thought, nor even in inmost thought to think again the sins that made the past so pleasant to us. And I have sworn never to see him more. To see him more.
And even in saying this, her memory, from old habit of the mind, went slipping back upon the golden days in which she saw him first, when Lancelot came, reputed the best knight and goodliest man, ambassador, to lead her to his lord Arthur, and led her forth and far ahead of his and her retinue moving, they, wrapped in sweet talk or lively, all on love and sport and tilts and pleasure, for the time and Maytime, and as yet no sin was dreamed, rode under groves that looked a paradise of blossom, over sheets of hyacinth that seemed the heavens upbreaking through the earth. But when the queen, immersed in such a trance, and moving through the past unconsciously, came to that point where first she saw the king ride toward her from the city, sighed to find her journey done, glanced at him, thought him cold, high, self-contained and passionless, not like him.
Not like my Lancelot.
While she brooded thus, and grew half guilty in her thoughts again, there rode an armoured warrior to the doors. A murmuring whisper through the nunnery ran. Then, on a sudden, a cry.
The king! The king!
And in the darkness heard his armoured feet pause by her. Then came silence, then a voice.
Liest thou here so low? The child of one I honoured, happy, dead before thy shame. Well is it that no child is born of thee. The children born of thee are sword and fire, red ruin and the breaking up of laws, the craft of kindred and the godless hosts of heathens swarming o'er the northern sea, whom I, while yet Sir Lancelot my right arm, the mightiest of my knights, abode with me, have everywhere about this land of Christ in 12 great battles ruining overthrown. And knowest thou now from whence I come? From him, from waging bitter war with him. And he that did not shun to smite me in worse way, had yet that grace of courtesy in him left, he spared to lift his hand against the king who made him knight. But many a knight was slain, and many more, and all his kith and kin clave to him, and abode in his own land, and many more, when Mordred raised revolt, forgetful of their troth and fealty, clave to Mordred. And a remnant stays with me, And of this remnant will I leave a part, true men who love me still, for whom I live, to guard thee in the wild hour coming on, lest but a hair of this low head be harmed. Fear not, thou shalt be guarded till my death. Howbeit I know, if ancient prophecies have erred not, that I march to meet my doom. Thou hast not made my life so sweet to me that I, the king, should greatly care to live. For thou hast spoilt the purpose of my life. Bear with me for the last time while I show, even for thy sake, the sin which thou hast sinned. For when the Roman left us, and their law relaxed its hold upon us, and the ways were filled with rapine, here and there a deed of prowess done redressed a random wrong. But I was first of all the kings who drew the knighthood errant of this realm, and all the realms together under me, their head, in that fair order of my table round, a glorious company, the flower of men, to serve as model for the mighty world, and be the fair beginning of a time. I made them lay their hands in mine, and swear to reverence the king as if he were their conscience, and their conscience as their king, to break the heathen and uphold the Christ, to ride abroad redressing human wrongs, to speak no slander, no, nor listen to it, to honour his own word as if his God's, to lead sweet lives in purest chastity, to love one maiden only, cleave to her, and worship her by years of noble deeds until they won her. For indeed I knew of no more subtle master under heaven than is the maiden passion for a maid, not only to keep down the base in man, but teach high thought, and amiable words, and courtliness, and the desire of fame, and love of truth, and all that makes a man. And all this throve before I wedded thee, believing, lo, mine helpmate, one to feel my purpose, and rejoicing in my joy. Then came thy shameful sin with Lancelot. Then came the sin of Tristram and Iseult. Then others, following these, my mightiest knights, and drawing foul ensample from fair names, sinned also, till the loathsome opposite of all my heart had destined did obtain, and all through thee. For think not, though thou wouldst not love thy Lord has wholly lost his love for thee. I am not made of so slight elements. Yet must I leave thee, woman, to thy shame.
He paused, and in the pause she crept an inch nearer, and laid her hands about his feet. Far off, a solitary trumpet blew. Then, waiting by the doors, the war-horse neighed, as at a friend's voice, and he spake again.
Yet think not that I come to urge thy crimes. I did not come to curse thee, Guinevere. I, whose vast pity almost makes me die to see thee, laying there, thy golden head, my pride in happier summers, at my feet. The wrath which forced my thoughts on that fierce law, the doom of treason and the flaming death, when first I learnt thee hidden here, is past. The pang which, while I weighed thy heart with one too wholly true to dream untruth in thee, made my tears burn, is also past, in part. And all is past. The sin is sinned, and I, lo, I forgive thee, as eternal God forgives. Do thou for thine own soul the rest. But how to take last leave of all I loved? Oh, golden hair, with which I used to play, not knowing. Oh, imperial moulded form, and beauty such as never woman wore, until it came a kingdom's curse with thee. I cannot touch thy lips, they are not mine, but Lancelot's. Nay, they never were the king's. I cannot take thy hand, that too is flesh, and in the flesh thou hast sinned, and mine own flesh, here, looking down on thine polluted, cries, I loathe thee. Yet not less, O Guinevere, for I was ever virgin save for thee. My love through flesh hath wrought into my life so far that my doom is, I love thee still. Let no man dream but that I love thee still. Perchance, and so thou purify thy soul, and so thou lean on our fair Father Christ, hereafter, in that world where all are pure, we two may meet before high God, and thou wilt spring to me and claim me thine, and know I am thine husband, not a smaller soul, nor Lancelot, nor another. Leave me that, I charge thee, my last hope. Now must I hence. Through the thick night I hear the trumpet blow. They summon me, their king, to lead mine hosts far down to that great battle in the west, where I must strike against the man they call my sister's son, no kin of mine, who leagues with lords of the White Horse, heathen, and knights, traitors, and strike him dead, and meet myself death, or I know not what mysterious doom. And thou, remaining here, wilt learn the event. But hither shall I never come again, never lie by thy side, see thee no more. Farewell.
And while she grovelled at his feet, she felt the king's breath wander o'er her neck, and in the darkness o'er her fallen head perceived the waving of his hands that blessed. Then rose the king and moved his host by night, and ever pushed Sir Mordred, league by league, back to the sunset bound of Lyonesse. There the pursuer could pursue no more, and he that fled no further fly the king. And there, that day when the great light of heaven burned at his lowest in the rolling year, on the waste sand by the waste sea, they closed. Nor ever yet had Arthur fought a fight like this last dim, weird battle of the West. The death-white mist slept over sand and sea, whereof the chill to him who breathed it drew down with his blood, till all his heart was cold with formless fear, and even on Arthur fell confusion, since he saw not whom he fought. For friend and foe were shadows in the mist, and friend slew friend, not knowing whom he slew. And some had visions out of golden youth, and some beheld the faces of old ghosts look in upon the battle, and in the mist was many a noble deed, many a base, and chance and craft and strength in single fights, and ever and anon with host to host, shocks and the splintering spear, the hard mail hewn, shield breakings, and the clash of brands, the crash of battle axes on shattered helms, and shrieks after the Christ of those who, falling down, looked up for heaven and only saw the mist. And shouts of heathen and the traitor knights, oaths, insult, filth, and monstrous blasphemies, sweat, writhings, anguish, labouring of the lungs in that close mist, and cryings for the light, moans of the dying, and voices of the dead. Last, as by someone deathbed after wail of suffering, silence follows, or through death, or death-like swoon, thus over all that shore, save for some whisper of the seething seas, a dead hush fell. But when the dolorous day grew drearier toward twilight falling, came a bitter wind, clear from the north, and blew the mist aside, and with that wind the tide rose, and the pale king glanced across the field of battle, but no man was moving there. Then spake King Arthur to Sir Bedivere,
Hearest thou this great voice that shakes the world, and wastes the narrow realm whereon we move, and beats upon the faces of the dead? My dead, as though they had not died for me. O Bedivere, for on my heart hath fallen confusion, till I know not what I am, nor whence I am, nor whether I be king. Behold, I seem but king among the dead.
My king, king everywhere. And so the dead have kings, there also will I worship thee as king. Yet still thy life is whole, and still I live who love thee. But who hates thee? He that brought the heathen back among us, yonder stands, Modred, unharmed, the traitor of thine house.
O loyal friend, my house hath been my doom. But call not thou this traitor of my house, who have but dwelt beneath one roof with me. My house are rather they who swear my vows, yea, even while they break them, owned me king. And well for thee, saying in my dark hour, when all the purport of my throne hath failed, that quick or dead thou holdest me for king. King am I, whatsoever be their cry, and one last act of kinghood shalt thou see yet ere I pass.
And uttering this, the king made at the man. Then Mordred smote his liege hard on that helm which many a heathen sword had beaten thin, while Arthur at one blow, striking the last stroke with Excalibur, slew him, and all but slain himself, he fell. Then, because his wound was deep, the bold Sir Bedivere uplifted him and bore him to a chapel nigh the field, a broken chancel with a broken cross that stood on a dark strait of barren land. On one side lay the ocean, and on one lay a great water, and the moon was full.
The sequel of today unsolders all the goodliest fellowship of famous knights, whereof this world holds record. Such a sleep they sleep, the men I loved. I perish by this people which I made, though Merlin swear that I should come again to rule once more, but let what will be, be. I am so deeply smitten through the helm that without help I cannot last till morn. Thou, therefore, take my brand, Excalibur, which was my pride, and fling him far into the middle mere, Watch what thou seest, and lightly bring me word.
It is not meet, Sir King, to leave thee thus. Yet I, thy hest, will all perform at full. Watch what I say, and lightly bring thee word.
So saying, from the ruined shrine he stepped, and in the moon, athwart the place of tombs, where lay the mighty bones of ancient men, old knights, and over them the sea wind sang, shrill, chill, with flakes of foam. He, stepping down by zigzag paths and juts of pointed rock, came on the shining levels of the lake, and leaping down the ridges lightly, plunged among the bulrush beds and clutched the sword, and strongly wheeled and threw it. The great brand made lightnings in the splendor of the moon, and flashing round and round, and whirled in an arch, shot like a streamer of the northern morn, seen where the moving isles of winter shock by night with noises of the northern sea. So flashed and fell the brand Excalibur. But ere he dipped the surface, rose an arm, clothed in white samite, mystic, wonderful, and caught him by the hilt, and brandished him 3 times, and drew him under in the mere. And lightly went the other to the king.
Now see I by thine eyes that this is done. Speak out. What is it thou hast heard or seen?
Sir King, I closed mine eyelids, lest the gems should blind my purpose, for I never saw, nor shall see here or elsewhere till I die, not though I live 3 lives of mortal men, so great a miracle as yonder hilt.
My end draws nigh. 'Tis time that I were gone. Make broad thy shoulders to receive my weight, and bear me to the margin. Yet I fear my wound hath taken cold, and I shall die.
So saying, from the pavement he half rose, slowly, with pain, reclining on his arm, and looking wistfully with wide blue eyes, as in a picture. Him Sir Bedivere remorsefully regarded through his tears, and would have spoken, but he found not words. Then took with care, and kneeling on one knee, o'er both his shoulders drew the languid hands, and rising bore him through the place of tombs.
Quick, quick. I fear it is too late, and I shall die.
But the other swiftly strode from ridge to ridge, clothed with his breath, and looking as he walked, larger than human, on the frozen hills. Dry clashed his harness in the icy caves and barren chasms, and all to left and right the bare black cliff clanged around him as he based his feet on juts of slippery crag that rang, sharp smitten with the dint of armed heels, and on a sudden, lo, the level lake, and the long glories of the winter moon. Then saw they how there hove a dusky barge, dark as a funeral scarf, from stem to stern beneath them, and descending they were aware that all the decks were dense with stately forms, black-stoled, black-hooded, like a dream. By these 3 queens with crowns of gold, and from them rose a cry that shivered to the tingling stars, and, as it were, one voice, an agony of lamentation, like a wind that shrills all night in a wasteland where no one comes, or hath come since the making of the world. Then murmured Arthur,
Place me in the barge.
So to the barge they came. There those three queens put forth their hands and took the king and wept. But she that rose the tallest of them all and fairest laid his head upon her lap and loosed the shattered cask and chafed his hands and called him by his name, complaining loud and dropping bitter tears against a brow striped with dark blood, for all his face was white and colourless, and like the withered moon smote by the fresh beam of the springing east, and all his greaves and cuisses dashed with drops of onset, and the light and lustrous curls that made his forehead like a rising sun high from the dais throne were parched with dust or clotted into points and hanging loose, mixed with the nightly growth that fringed his lips. So, like a shattered column, lay the king.
The old order changeth, yielding place to new. And God fulfills himself in many ways, lest one good custom should corrupt the world. I have lived my life, and that which I have done may he within himself make pure. But thou, if thou shouldst never see my face again, pray for my soul. More things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of. For so the whole round earth is every way bound by gold chains about the feet of God. But now, farewell. I am going a long way. With these thou seest. If indeed I go, for all my mind is clouded with a doubt, to the island valley of Avilion, where falls not hail, or rain, or any snow, nor ever wind blows loudly, but it lies deep-meadowed, happy, fair with orchard lawns and bowery hollows crowned with summer sea, where I will heal me of my grievous wound.
So said he, and the barge with oar and sail moved from the brink, like some full-breasted swan that, fluting a wild carol ere her death, ruffles her pure cold plume and takes the flood with swarthy webs. Long stood Sir Bedivere, revolving many memories, till the hull looked one black dot against the verge of dawn, and on the mere the wailing died away.
The king is gone. He passes to be king among the dead. And after healing of his grievous wound, he comes again. But if he come no more, oh me.
Then from the dawn it seemed there came, but faint as from beyond the limit of the world, like the last echo born of a great cry, sounds as if some fair city were one voice around a king returning from his wars. Thereat once more he moved about, and clomb even to the highest he could climb, and saw, straining his eyes beneath an arch of hand, or thought he saw the speck that bare the king down that long water, opening on the deep, somewhere far off, pass on, and go from less to less, and vanish into light. And the new sun rose, bringing the new year.
in Idylls of the King by Tennyson, adapted by the poet Michael Simmons Roberts, the narrator was Tim Pigott Smith. Arthur was played by Jonathan Keeble, Lancelot by Simon Harrison, Guinevere by Catherine Hunt, and Bedivere by Malcolm Rayburn. Leodogran was played by Terence Mann, Tristram by Tom Ferguson, Dagonet by Russell Dixon, and Elaine was played by Ellen Reese. The music was composed by Gary Yershon and Paul Cargill. Sound design was by Steve Brooke, and Idylls of the King was produced in Manchester by Susan Roberts.